Hello, everyone. This is Eric Pennington, and welcome to the Spirit of EQ podcast. We're glad that you've tuned in. A few things we wanted to tell you at the beginning of the show, and that's this podcast was created to be a tool to help you, primarily to discover and grow your EQ. Science and our own lived experiences confirm that the better we are at managing our emotions, the better we're going to be at making decisions, which leads to a better life. And that's something we all want. We're glad that you've taken out the time today to listen and hope that something that you hear will lead to a breakthrough. Hey, one last thing. We'd really appreciate a review on whichever platform you use to listen. And if you want to, leave some comments about what you heard today, as well as follow and subscribe. That way you won't miss a single episode as we continue this journey. And with that, the show begins. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Doing pretty good, Eric. How about you?
I'm good. You sent me over some notes about today's episode.
Yeah, I know.
And I said to you before we started recording, it got me thinking. So I think that's a good thing, if I can say it that way.
Okay.
You used the term EQ never gets old, but you did.
Yep.
So what's behind that?
Well, I'm just going to start right out. I'll be 68 in July.
Okay.
So I'm accumulating wisdom. Hopefully. No, when we're having a Thanksgiving gathering with my side of the family, one of my nephew's wife mentioned something to my wife and I that you guys don't act your age. And I got to thinking about that, and she used a term that I never thought somebody would call me. You're very spry. In a good way. But, I got to thinking about that. So why would somebody think about my wife and I that way?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just where this topic came from. Just the idea of, okay, how am I approaching getting older?
Well, what I like, I guess, and this is the part I was thinking about, is there a difference between being old and getting older?
Yeah, I think so. Getting older is inevitable. It's going to happen.
Jeff, you mean it happens to 1 out of 1 person?
It's about 100%.
100%.
It's about 100%.
So we can guarantee anyone listening to this podcast, you're getting older.
But being older is what I've been thinking about. It's your mindset. It's about how you go about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I tease my wife about this. Right now, I don't have gray hair because I've shaved my head because of other reasons.
Yep.
But wear your gray hair proudly.
Yeah.
It's totally, you decide whether you're being old.
Do you think that is a bit of a trap in a culture like ours where we tend to worship youth or perceived youth?
Yeah, I think it is. It's you look at pop stars right now,
mm-hmm.
and I wonder how many of those are still going to be as popular as they are now 40 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
I look back to the people that I admired from my youth. Like you've heard me talk, I love Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits.
Mm-hmm.
He's still going strong. That kind of a thing. Will they be able to do what they're doing when they're not youthful anymore?
Right.
We do that with athletes. They were talking about a 40-year-old quarterback as an anomaly, Yeah. So a lot of the things that are in our society are youth oriented, and I think that's a problem that we have.
Yeah, because not only is there the inevitability that you will one day be the person who is considered to be, quote, old, but I also think it robs people of that creativity to understand that in many ways life is made up of multiple chapters, and,
right,
and they are not they're not just one long story. I mean, it's not a one chapter book. And here's where I'm going with it. You know of artists, and sometimes, at least it seems to me, it can be female artists. And I say it that way because I think, my opinion only, there's more pressure on women with the youth thing than it is on men.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
So I think I understand, and I want to be careful because I don't know any famous artists that are women. So if I'm off here, please forgive me. However, I think that pressure puts on them an emphasis to try to fight time and to maintain youth above all else, even though at the same time they realize that it's slipping away from them.
Yeah, let's say an actor, we tend to, I try not to do this, but I think society tends to look at how they look rather than how great an actor they are. I just watched a movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
No,
it's a very, very odd movie, but John Goodman is in it.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I am, I mean, he's lost some weight. I think he did that for health reasons. But as he ages, he's becoming such a great actor in my mind. But he's not concentrating on his looks. If you just looked at his looks, you give him no mind. But he's a great actor. So I think we need to, I don't know how we would go about it, but.
Well, and I don't know if it's a solvable thing outside of the community in which the support system that you have around you, right? I mean, I use Denzel Washington in my mind as a great example. This, besides his own journey individually, I would imagine he probably has some people around him that have kept him pretty grounded. So that groundedness, I think, has helped probably, right, to be able to see this progression of the story and not be so tied to what once was. And I have empathy for the artists, the actors, musicians, or whatever, who have been peppered in their prime, almost like this is going to last forever.
Right.
And very few voices that say, well, what are you going to do when you are 68 and you're the lead guitar player of this band? And we could almost take that to and I don't know Mark Knopfler's, I mean, Eric Clapton comes to my mind because he's almost 80 and still tours and does the whole nine. So what are some things you need to be doing as you're getting older that sets you up to be able to continue? And
that's, I'm not going to, paint a picture of everything being easy and perfect. There are some negatives to getting older. You physically, I shared with you earlier, I have a new hip now.
Yeah.
As you get older, you start building your doctor collection. You just start doing these things. You get to know your pharmacist a little bit better than you did. So there's the negative things, and you might not be able to do everything physically that you did before. But if you look at it as that's just natural, it's not something that's not supposed to be happening. You can take that in stride and make adjustments and, okay, I'm not going to be able to probably play football anymore, but what can I do? There's things that, that I am able to do. So you have to look at that, but then look at the positives. If you've really taken the time to look at your life, you've learned a lot of things. There's things out there that you've been through that help you get through things more. Just the idea of that. You talked earlier, you've probably built a good support system of friends and family as you're going through this. And so there's the positives of it too. So just look at, and take it with a little bit of humor. I love pointing out that my wife is 6 weeks older than I am, and I'm her trophy husband. And then she responds with, I didn't win first place.
That's funny. That's good.
So just things like that,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Jeff, what is the SEQ Development Report?
I'm glad you asked me that, Eric. The SEQ development report is something that we here at Spirit of EQ have developed to blend the idea of emotional intelligence with a person's spiritual life. And we're not talking about religion, we're talking about how they connect with themselves, other people, and the world around them.
Why is it important?
I think it's important because it allows someone to see where they stand, to give them information about maybe parts of their life they may need to work on, parts of their life that they're really doing well and learn to leverage it. And it just gives a person a better way of getting through the world.
So how do you get this report?
Well, first, you need to contact us. Info at Spirit of EQ is just a great way to do it. Then you would take an assessment, 15, 20 minutes, done online. And then after that, the report requires a debrief to go through all the things in it because it's got a ton of information. And then if you want to further your journey, we can do coaching and things like that with you down the road. And that's basically it.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff. And we'll be back to the episode after this. And now back to the episode. Yeah, and I also would say to our audience, those that are younger, and I think this is the part about the wisdom thing and about the world system we live in is not set up for this, right? Even though it's starting to get more attention because you have health experts that are writing about longevity, right? And one of them I think about is Peter Attia, this idea of sort of thinking about your last, I think his approach, and I don't have the title of what this idea is, but something to the effect of, Jeff, that think about your last decade of your life and what you want to be doing in that last decade, right? Whether that's I want to be able to pick up my grandkids, I want to be able to go for walks, whatever it may be. You should be doing things now that set you up, not guarantee, but set you up for success so that that will occur.
And what I've discovered that this thing about wisdom is a lot of my wisdom that I have is not from succeeding. It's from when I failed, you know, and I'm not trying to make that a negative thing, but I've learned from that. If you've taken the time, you know, you got to be honest with yourself, man, I really screwed that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think that is once the bitter taste of a mess up or a mistake, it should produce the sweetness of learning.
And that's when if you share that wisdom with someone older, sharing with them that, you might fail, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You'll survive.
Well, and I almost would take it to just say you are going to fail.
Right.
I mean, it's going to happen. What you choose to do with that is really the thing that matters most, right? And I know for me, as I'm managing my health journey, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional, you know, I've had those that have, you know, well, you are this, and you know, applauding my efforts, right? And I like to make sure they understand this is not guarantee business, because I can get hit by a truck tomorrow just like anybody.
Right.
I can get cancer, and it's not like if I do these things, it guarantees I will have these things. It doesn't work that way.
No.
But I value the gift of the life I have been given at a level that says I'm going to do everything I can to take care of myself. That to me allows me to go, well, if it turns out the doc says, yeah, I'm sorry, it's terminal, I can at least say, well, didn't do it perfectly, but I honored the gift that I was given, which is life, right?
Right.
So I want to pivot
to
what are some of the emotional intelligence competencies you think can help as you're navigating, whether it's the negative side or the positive side?
When I was thinking about that, pretty much all the 8 that we have, I was thinking of your emotions, to be able to still understand that you don't get immune to emotions as you get older. You don't get build up a callus, an emotional protective callus to keep. It still happens, and to be able to recognize the emotions that you're feeling. Like you said, right after I had hip surgery, I was hurting a lot. It was hard to get around.
Yep.
I could have felt very discouraged about that, but I was able to look, and that's another one, optimism. I've talked to a bunch of people that's had this surgery, and they all said how amazing it is once you get through that first month or two. Yeah. So to be able to just use those things, those tools, they're probably more important as I get older.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
And would you say that I don't want to assume this, but for our audience, I think I can assume it. Jeff, you've built a practice of emotional intelligence.
I try. Okay. I don't always.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, because any practice has its deficiencies and on and on. It's not a linear thing, but as much as I know you, you've built a practice.
And that's with any of these things. It's the practice.
And the why I note it to you that way, and I use this with clients, is that the goal here is for us to build a practice of emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. Because what we want is that 10 years from now, you're still going to these competencies to help you navigate the various problems and opportunities that you encounter. Mm-hmm. Not to make it I did this thing with an assessment 10 years ago. It was really cool. I can't remember. I think there were tools. No, there were competence. I mean, where we're not struggling as if it was just a one-off experience.
Right. Yeah, it has to become as best as you can make it just a part of who you are.
Yeah.
It needs to become as automatic as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So for our audience, we'll put in our show notes, and if you've been following the podcast for long, you know that there are these competencies, and there's 8 of them. Matter of fact, I think what we'll do is we'll put in the show notes, Jeff, the episode we recently did where we went through all 8 of them. That could be a good reference point.
Yeah, that would be great.
So with that, audience, we appreciate you tuning in as always, and we look forward to the next time that we're together. Take care.